This is cs952, Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and we just added a div that has nested inside of it 3 more divs. We added a bootstrap row, and then inside of that row we have 3 more divs as child elements of that row, and each one of them has a class that says when we're in medium view, each one of these columns, each one of these divs is going to be 4 columns wide. And remember, in Bootstrap we have 12 columns, so the first one is 4, the second one is 4, the third one is 4. We add all those together and end up being 12. So let's have a look at this. Here we go. We've got 1, 2, 3. What we're going to do is we're going to work on adding some content just to our first div, this one that has a this is the first one in our list. It has a class of medium 4. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a glyphicon inside of this div. And so when I add something inside of something, that's going to be nest. So let's add in a glyphicon. Remember, we used a glyphicon. We used the home glyphicon for our home page, for our navigation. We've got it right there. Let's add in another home glyphicon. So I'm going to go. I need to see my my tool, so I'm going to hit F4. Now this is not helping me out because I want to be working in medium view, so I'm going to click on my collapsed icons, scroll down here, still got this div selected, and let's insert a home glyphicon. So I'm going to click on Insert, and I'm going to look at glyphicons right here, and on the little drop down menu I want to make sure that I have home selected. Let's click on that. And then we're going to nest it because we're putting it inside of this div. Let's hit Nest. I'm going to click on my little button to hide that. And if I look here, there it is. You see that little home icon? We've added it right there. Don't worry about it. We'll make it a little bit stand out a little bit more here in a second. And so we've got the glyphicon added. Now we want to add an H4 element. Let's look at our DOM panel. Click on our DOM panel. Okay. So we can see we've got, this is the div that we're currently working on. This is our glyphicon. We want to add, after the glyphicon, we want to add an H4. So I've got my glyphicon selected. I'm going to go under Insert, and I'm going to choose Heading, and I'm going to choose H4. And I'm going to put it after, I want to put it after my glyphicon, so click on After. Okay. Let's hide that panel. And it says this is the content for layout tag H4. I want to change that so that it says gallery. I'm going to double click, and when it does, you'll notice that the blue border changes to like an orange color. Okay, great. Let's highlight that. And I'm going to type in gallery, G-A-L-L-E-R-Y. And of course the text is centered, right, because of the inheritance property of cascading style sheets. We set a text align property for this entire the parent element, the div that holds all of this, that has an ID of icons 3. We said center all the text, and so this H4 element that we add, of course it's centered. Now after I've changed this content, to make this change permanent, I just need to click somewhere off where I've been typing, and there it is. Okay, it says gallery. Now I want to add in a paragraph. So I'm going to go back. I want to make sure I've got my DOM panel open. I want to make sure I've got my H4 element selected, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a paragraph. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to insert a paragraph. And again, we want to choose After because we're adding it after the H4 element. Okay, there it is. We've got that. Let me close up this panel. Now I have some placeholder content to add here. You could certainly put in your own content, but I do have some placeholder content. If I go to look over here under Files, and I scroll down here to my tutorial, it says textfiles.txt. Let me double click on that. Okay, got this opened up. I can hide this panel. And I'm going to scroll down, and it says responsive Bootstrap responsive content. This website has a curated selection of some. I'm just going to copy this text. I'm going to highlight it, right click, and choose Copy. Okay. Now let's go back over here, and I want to replace this placeholder content. So I double click, notice it turns orange. I'm going to highlight all that. I want to get rid of all that. I'm going to right click and choose Paste. There we go. So I've pasted in my placeholder content. I'm going to go ahead and hit Save All. We've been doing a little bit of editing here. I took that first div and I added in a glyphicon. Then I added in an H4 element, and then I added in a paragraph. My plan is to do that for the next two divs as well, but I don't want to keep doing the same work over and over again. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to restore the full view of my panels, my expanded panels. And I'm going to go to my DOM panel. And this is my plan. I'm going to delete these other two divs that we have. And then I'm going to duplicate the div that we've already started working with, and then just change the content for those divs that I've duplicated. So here's what we'll do. We'll click on the very last div in this group. I'm going to right click and choose delete. Okay, got that deleted. Then I'm going to go to the one that's still remaining. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose delete. Now I'm going to right click on the one that we've been working on, the only one that's left, and I'm going to click and say duplicate. Hey, look at that. Now it just duplicated it for us. I'm going to right click again and say duplicate. Now let's hide these, let's collapse these panels, and now we can see if we're in medium view. You can see the difference between medium view. When we're in medium view, they're all three are right next to each other, and as soon as we go to small view, right, this is medium view, as soon as we break and go to small view, then everything's stacking one on top of each other. So let's go back to our medium view. Okay, great, looking good. I need these icons to be larger. Definitely, they're not catching anybody's attention at that size. So it's going to be a styling change. So as you can imagine, we're going to make a CSS change. So what I want to do is I want to select this glyphicon here. Make sure, let me look at my, you know what, let's just go ahead and open up our panels there. Got my glyphicon selected. So to create a new CSS rule, I go to CSS Designer. Want to make sure that I have styles selected, because this is the file where we're saving all of our custom changes. Want to make sure I have global selected, because this is going to be a change for all different viewing devices, and global is the same thing as mobile. We always start with our mobile design first. It's always mobile first design. And we're going to create a new selector. So the selector we get is actually kind of, in this case, maybe not the most appropriate selector we want, because what we want to do is we want to target content that's inside of this div. The parent element we've been working with is called icons3. So let me type that first. I'm going to type $IC, and then Dreamweaver fills in. Oh, you want to write a rule for icons3? So I just have to hit the enter key, and now that's filled in for me. But what I want to do is I want to target glyphicons inside of icons3. So I have to hit the space bar. If I'm going to be combining selectors together, remember this is an example of a descendant selector, saying something that has a class that's inside of something that has an ID of icons3. So I have to hit that space bar so that the web browser will see that there are two different items that it's evaluating. So I've got icons3, I'm going to hit the space bar. Then I'm going to type a period, which means it's going to be a class, GLY, and there we go, glyphicon. Now I just have to hit enter. So now I have a style rule that's only going to target glyphicons that are contained inside of icons3, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want. So I just hit enter. Now I'm going to go to my text, and I want to go to my text size. Text size, and I want to change the size of my, in this case it says font. I'm going to change it. I want to make sure we're working on pixels, and I'm going to put in 80 pixels and hit enter. Well, you can see right away it looks a lot better with 80 pixels than it did with what we had as a default. Really stands out now. So I'm going to hit save all, and again this is probably a pretty good place to take a break, and then we'll come back and continue.